Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday. It is Friday. We have finished another week, and we are still talking about the ICE raids. It's incredible to me. Yesterday, I was on Fox News with Will Cain, and we had a Democrat on the panel. Is it the Democrat Party chair here in the state of Texas, sitting there talking about how, well, yes, of course we should abolish ICE. Of course, ICE shouldn't be going around picking up illegal criminals. This should not be controversial, guys. Federal law enforcement is going to round up illegal criminals, and we should all celebrate. But unfortunately, in 2026, the world is upside down. The left is still bonkers crazy, and we still have to talk about this entire thing like it's some sort of it's a controversial subject. But in that conversation, it's like you have to ask yourself at a certain point, why is everyone buying into this delusion that it's bad to round up criminals and deport them? Where is this coming from? Like, you would think even the average Democrat, who I do understand is not as smart as you, if you're an avid viewer of this program, I get it. But you would think that this is just like basic stuff here. How are they buying into this? Well, the Democrats' messaging from the very tippy top, I don't know, you tell me, may have something to do with it.
Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets. We cannot give him what he wants.
That these agents are not being deployed to promote safety. They do not have the proper training. They don't belong on the streets.
They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust.
I mean, if you're listening to these people, if you're listening to the Democrat that was on my panel yesterday who was saying, actually, ICE isn't even rounding up the criminals. President Trump said he was only going to go after the criminals, and what they're doing is taking away people's abuelas. Like, okay, my guy, all right already. They're not actual law enforcement. They're just picking people up off the streets and asking them if they'd like to join ICE. Hello? How do you think any law enforcement agency gets its people? You have to recruit from somewhere. What? But these people are listening to their leaders claim ICE is only out there to cause chaos and confusion. And really, the only reason that there's any kind of chaos in any of these places is simply because these Democrat leaders that you just heard from, these Democrat leaders are getting all of their people up in a tizzy. And so then you have all of their people going into these cities, going out there and putting up resistance to law enforcement, preventing them from doing their jobs. What rights do these state officials have to undermine the laws of the United States? I'm of the opinion, by the way, that President Trump should have been in Minneapolis like 2-3 days ago. We're out of time, guys. You've already proven that you don't want to work with federal law enforcement to uphold federal law. Really, probably state law as well. You've completely abdicated your duties. That is what this Insurrection Act is for. Literally this entire moment. I understand that the left-wing media is going to go out there and they're going to talk about how President Trump is overstepping his bounds. He's going too far. He's abusing his power. It's just, you have to know when you're looking at the video from these cities, oh, okay, he should just stand by and let them assault ICE officers, stand by and let them burn the streets down again. We saw what happened last time they rejected National Guard. He shouldn't, obviously anyone with eyeballs can see, of course, we need to take control of our streets. Okay? And I get it. They're like, we're sanctuary cities. We're not going to help you guys. We're not going to give you a lick of help. We're not going to tell you anything. We're not going to give you assistance. We are going to be of no help to you. But you're not allowed, as it turns out, to stand in the way. You're not allowed to prevent them from upholding their federal laws and getting criminals out of our streets. And so I want to go over to Chicago, Illinois for a moment. You just heard from that fatso, JB Pritzker. I always get that wrong. And he is one of the, anytime that there's a place for a big mouth to be, it's him. And he has been one of the biggest opponents of ICE. He actually went so far as to say, you've got these Democrats. They're like, ICE are terrible people. ICE are awful. They're Nazis. They're the Gestapo. And then when they get asked, like, have you ever gone on a ride along with them? Like, have you ever spent any time, actual legitimate time with them? They're like, no, why would I ever do that? Then I might actually be knowledgeable about the situation.
You've referred to ICE as Kristi Noem's thugs. Would you be willing to do a ride-along with ICE in Chicago to get a better understanding about what they do and what they deal with?
I can see what they do on the streets of Chicago. And
are there any ICE agents that are good? ICE agents that are good?
Of course. The problem is who's holding the bad ones accountable? Because the bad ones, frankly, are the ones that we're seeing all the time.
Are they? Or is ICE just having to go through more hoops, jump through more hoops, go to further measures because you guys are making it harder for them? And on top of that, you have all of these rabid left-wing hacks in the media who I think they received rightfully a slapping down from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. It's just, the lies, the misstatements, the dis and misinformation that we always used to hear about during the Biden administration. It's just enough, guys. It's just enough.
You were just defending ICE agents generally. And earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE. And Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised in your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer.
That is a masterclass. Just a masterclass in taking out these left-wing hacks. By the way, this guy, what was that? Did I sense an Irish accent, Stephen? There was something going on there. You're coming here from Ireland to lecture me, right? Like,
what do you say to that, Sarah?
Go home. Just silence, foreigner. Okay? You let us worry about our country. Okay? You go deal with your potato famine or whatever the hell's going on over there. All right? And just shh. Silence, foreigner. I don't need your lectures. And on top of the way that they're treating this, which you already know if President Trump is involved in any way, shape, or form, they hate it. They can love something until President Trump, like you could say that, let's say that their favorite musical artist is Ed Sheeran. Okay? Which is actually my personal favorite musical artist. You could have like a lefty and they're like, I love Ed Sheeran. I love all of his music. I have so much of his merch. I love Ed Sheeran. And President Trump could like make just the slightest statement that's like, that Ed Sheeran guy, he's pretty great. And these people would be like, Ed Sheeran. I hate him. I hate his music. He's a terrible musician. This is how these people are wired. They're broken. They're broken people. They're very broken people. Let me give you an example on the very topic that we are discussing, which, in fact, is not Ed Sheeran, but it's ICE, okay? Let me give you hear the rhetoric being uttered by these Democrats on ICE now. Let me give you, let's get in the time-traveling machine. Let's go back in time to just some years ago under the Obama administration in Chicago, where CNN, of all places, CNN actually did a ride-along with ICE. And you will notice something about this report, this special report ride-along, is that it's actually very positive for ICE.
Just before the sun rises in the Windy City, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents fan out across Chicago to arrest criminals in the U.S. illegally.
Tac 1, Tac 2, Tac 3.
CNN was granted exclusive access to witness some of those raids.
We got 3 targets this morning. You know, some of the neighborhoods a little sketchy, so we got to make sure it's not just the target we're looking after, but other people around us.
Oh, look, it's fine that they have weapons to protect themselves.
Because they want to catch these people before they go to work. That's why it starts so early in the morning.
10 years ago, this
All right, let's roll, guys.
Next target.
Totally fine.
That did
actually.
in 10 years for narcotics trafficking. He's also been arrested for DUI. We also may be attempting to criminally prosecute this individual because he was previously removed from the country, which is a federal felony.
You have evidence, right, that he's using a fake identity, or?
That is correct. We believe he's been using a U.S. citizen's identity to live and work. He has an Illinois driver's license.
Uh-oh.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement just arrested its second target. It has had surveillance on this person for a while now.
This individual was incarcerated.
There's no rioters.
County jail at one point. He was released without notification to ICE.
There's no one obstructing ICE from doing they're not driving their cars into the situation. Isn't that interesting?
Ordinance. We probably could have arrested the individual at Cook County Jail.
Isn't that so interesting? There's no signs. There's no signs about ICE. There's no one coming over blowing their whistles. There's no one following journalists. There's no one following CNN and going, ICE! ICE is here! Don't come out! ICE! I don't know how they get their voices to be that annoying, but somehow they always do it. You'll notice, totally absent from this glowing piece about how ICE did their jobs. It's fine. They got weapons. That's fine. Yeah, duh. They're law enforcement. Of course they do. There are many of them that go apprehend these criminals. Yeah, duh, of course they do. They're criminals. They got to be safe. They got to protect themselves. It was all totally fine until Orange Man bad. It was all fine. Now, I would also like to just remind all of these leftists who apparently need a reminder that it was fine when Obama was doing it. It was fine when Obama was doing it. And now all of a sudden you're broken. Let's just do some comparative numbers. From January 20th to December 10th last year, DHS has deported more than 605,000 illegals. However, they did also make these very strong statements leading to almost 2 million, 1.9 million illegals just self-deported. They said, bye-bye. All right, that's fine. I'll download the CBP Home app and I'll just go home so that I might get a chance at coming to this country. Again, that's 2.5 million illegals gone. And just for the record, you might recall one of Obama's nicknames was Deporter-in-Chief. Now, President Trump, I believe, will, at the end of his second term, of course, he will have more deportations than Barack Obama. But as it stands now, Barack Obama sent out more than 3 million people. Actually, more than his predecessor, George W. Bush, who was more than his predecessor, Bill Clinton. So Barack Obama was actually this was one of the things that he was very strong on and very unapologetic on, was that we need to get the illegal criminals out of our country.
We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker.
Whoa.
That has to change. They have to be held accountable.
Whoa.
Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants.
A nation of laws. That Barack Obama in 2008, the Barack Obama in 2008 that said illegals need to go home and employers should be penalized for employing illegals would never get elected in today's Democrat Party. Never. Never. That's how far the Democrats have shifted on this. That's how far they've gone. Before, their golden boy was pro-deportation. Their golden boy amped up the deportations from his Republican predecessor. But now that President Trump has said we should do more of that, apparently it's state-sponsored terrorism, according to Governor Gavin Newsom's office. It is state-sponsored terrorism to come into your communities and make them safer by deporting the illegals. You couldn't make this up if you tried. I tell you guys this all the time. The Democrats have no morals, no values, no compass, no principles, no ideals, no platform. The only platform that they are left with after Donald Trump has broken them for all of these years is Donald Trump mean, orange man bad, whatever he loves, we hate, whatever he hates, we love, period, end of story, doesn't matter how retarded it is. That's what they've been reduced to. But you know what? I'm here for it. I have faith in the American people. I have faith in the fact that all of these working class, middle class families who are affected by all of this crime of illegals, who are affected by the illegals coming into their communities and making them worse, I believe that they're not so stupid as to listen to, the Tim Walzes and Gavin Newsoms and JB Pritzkers of the world. They're not just going to be like, oh, yeah, that's true. Because they know. They're not buying into this. All right, make sure that you are subscribed to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Smash the like button and comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us because of our very benevolent. Please don't demonetize me again. Very benevolent overlords over at YouTube. Want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So I love Patriot Mobile. In fact, I'm going to go speak at an event over the weekend, and I bet I'm going to see Patriot Mobile there because they support so many conservative grassroots causes. I see them all the time at all of the events that I go to because they are really putting their money where their mouth is. What you don't realize is that Patriot Mobile, you can get great wireless service there for your cell phone. So by the way, whatever service you're on now, it's all the same. They all share the same towers. So you can get the same nationwide coverage that you have now. But you also know that you are partnering with an activist organization. They are unashamed that they are activists funded by selling top-tier cell phone service. They have been on the front lines defending our freedoms long before it was cool. They were like the creators of this parallel economy where they were like, hey, don't give your money to people who hate you. Instead, give it to us and we will help further the cause that you believe in. By the way, when you go there, they've got all sorts of customizable plans, but they're probably going to save you money as well. So switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes. You can keep your number, you can keep your phone, or you can upgrade. Really, honestly, do it however you would like, but just go there. Go there, show Big Mobile that you don't feel like, oh, there's just no other option. I'm just going to give you my hard-earned money. Go to patriotmobile.com/Sara and use promo code Sara for a free month of service. That is patriotmobile.com/Sara, promo code Sara. Welcome back to the show. We have Matt Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire. Did I do that correctly?
Well, you said Matt, which, you know.
Matthew Marsden. Matthew D. Marsden. You can find him at Matthew D. Marsden on YouTube. Please subscribe. We are also joined today by Adam Johnson, who is, by the way, I will, just for a quick second here, be serious. Adam, you have big news.
I do. I just announced my official bid for Manatee County Commissioner, District 6, where I live. I'm running for local office because I believe if you want to fix the world, you got to start in your backyard.
Well, how do they feel about having an insurrectionist as their next county commissioner?
Well, we are at 43 local articles that have been published so far, which is free marketing. Very excited about that because everyone knows I'm running.
Love it. I love it. Well, where can people donate really quickly?
You can go to my campaign website. It is voteadamjohnson.com. We're doing a great job fundraising money. Every couple of dollars helps to put out those business cards and yard signs. So help me get elected and make the liberal scream.
So help our favorite unlicensed furniture mover get elected over in Florida by going to voteadamjohnson.com. It's good to be back with you guys. So I wanted to kind of bring awareness. I asked my friend Savannah Hernandez. I wanted to get her on to talk about the story because it is her story that she covered, but she wasn't able to join us. But she said, please still talk about it because I want people to know how terribly this man was treated. So there is a man from New York City who ended up, I'm going to let you guys watch the clip here, but he ended up having to use self-defense to protect himself. But he still ended up in jail, but not for the reason you would think. Watch.
This is Savannah Hernandez outside of the Queens Criminal Courthouse in New York City, where I just attended the sentencing for Charles Foner, the 67-year-old retiree who was just sentenced to 4 years in prison after defending himself from a 15-time career criminal here in New York City. Now, if you're not familiar with the story of Charles, basically back in 2023, a 15-time career criminal with a history of mental illness ended up threatening him and lunging at him. Charles, who had a handgun in his pocket, which he had, by the way, because of his fears of rising crime throughout the city, ended up pulling out his weapon, telling this man to stop. He did not heed the warning. He continued to lunge at Charles. Charles opened fire and ended up killing him. Now, interesting thing about this case is that the DA of Queens, Melinda Katz, did not bring forth homicide or manslaughter charges because even her office agreed that this was a clear-cut case of self-defense. However, what they did decide to charge Charles for was criminal possession of a weapon, and then after this incident happened, the police went and searched his home, and they found what they stated is an arsenal of unlicensed weapons. Now, I want to say he had about 30 other guns in his home, and Charles's attorney stated that Charles has been shooting guns since he was a kid. Charles has no criminal history, and he has been around guns his entire life. However, because he was in New York and these were unlicensed, the DA decided to bring forward these charges.
It's incredible that this is happening in the United States of America. So he ended up, this 67-year-old retiree ended up losing his home because of the legal fees and him being cut off from his Social Security benefits while he's in prison. You can't get that when you're in prison. So he is now currently serving a 4-year prison sentence. By the way, I want to get your thoughts on this, gentleman, but I would like to tell everyone, if you feel so led, please go to his Give, Send, Go and help support Charles and his wife while he is imprisoned. It's givesendgo.com/free Charles Foner. And you can see the spelling on that, FOEHNER. We'll have the link in the description as well. But it's really incredible that there is such a thing as unlicensed firearms in this country. It's like, says who? That is completely unconstitutional because I have a Second Amendment right to protect myself however I see fit. And the fact that doing that, this man would not be alive if it weren't for the weapon that he carried. And the fact that doing that, protecting his own life, now causes him to be in prison because then they can go and raid your home and say, oh, actually, you have an arsenal here. You're not allowed to do that. It's very chilling.
This happened in the UK many years ago. Believe it or not, some farmers do have licensed firearms over in the United Kingdom, normally shotguns. And there was one guy that just continually got broken into by and it's a politically incorrect thing to say, but like a gypsy, like travelers.
There's are real gypsies there?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Like in 2026?
Yeah, real ones.
Wow.
Yeah, not like with the Romany caravans and everything, but anyway, they kept breaking in, and he ended up shooting them, and he went to jail.
Wow.
And it's very clear to me, as someone who came from a country that has had their firearms pretty much taken away, to a country where I am absolutely pro Second Amendment. And as you were saying that, I'm like, the law of the land is the Second Amendment. Everything else is BS. It doesn't matter. Is that this is meant to, as we saw before under Joe Biden, is to stop you from wanting to defend yourself. And so now people are going, well, hang on, even if you use a firearm, and it is licensed, by the way, which, as you said, it shouldn't be a thing anyway. The Second Amendment is paramount. You're going to think twice about defending yourself because it's going to put you at risk. And I think that this is an instance, I don't know if they have, but I think this is an instance where someone like the NRA should just say, you know what, I don't even know if he's a member, but we should come in there and we should take this to the Supreme Court and then turn around and say, well, this is unconstitutional. As you said, this needs to happen because we're seeing it increasingly that our rights are being infringed. And thank goodness we have Trump right now. But you can't rely on the Republicans and you can't rely on the courts to do the right thing. You can tell they're like, no, we can't possibly say that this is manslaughter or murder, but we'll get you anyway in one shape or form.
Right.
And it's just so wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam, it's like, wow, I'm watching this happen right in front of me where you guys are trying to disarm your citizenry while you are calling to abolish law enforcement, while you are releasing violent, reoffending criminals into the streets. Sounds a whole lot like you want the chaos.
Well, first of all, I'm going to make sure this reaches the desk of Dudley, a good friend of mine who owns and runs, operates National Association of Gun Rights. This will be appealed, and I really hope they win. There's this idiom, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And they're really kind of doing away with them at this point. They're just arresting us even for defending ourselves. And I would like to point out another case, Dexter Taylor. He was arrested a few years ago for a software engineer, nice black guy. He's just making guns in his home, just as a hobby. And he got 10 years just for being in possession of them. Didn't have to have self-defense or anything. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So this is the status quo for New York. And, these rights, they're God-given, they're inalienable. And I don't understand how we're living in a world where we can't even protect ourselves. I myself went through a very similar situation where when I was arrested, all of my firearms were taken from me. I had to fight back for almost a year to get my gun guns back after I was done. And this was in the middle of spending 3 years getting death threats on a regular basis coming after my family. And they told me I did not have a right to defend myself. My family didn't have a right to defend themselves. So this is the world that we live in now. So I just stay prepared, train, because we're heading to a day where the police are not going to protect you.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, I see your visceral reaction listening to Adam's recalling his story.
Yeah, it angers me greatly because, as we know, we aren't the ones that perpetrate the violence.
Right.
I don't see people going in and kicking down the doors of all these criminals to take the guns from them, but they'll do it to law-abiding citizens, which is the point, isn't it? It's the point that they're punishing you for exercising your Second Amendment rights. And by the way, I want to make a bigger point on this, Sarah. I've been reading a lot about, because there's been this talk about us going to Greenland, taking Greenland, or what would happen if Russia was to try and attack us, or all the bloviating that the EU is saying. The number one reason why this country will never be invaded is because there are 350 million guns and the 100 million gun owners. And if you look at any assessment of America staying free, I'm not even talking about us free as peoples, The tyranny right now is coming from our own government. I'm talking about foreign governments. Yeah. The Japanese said when they proposed invading the United States, they said, we cannot do it because there will be a gun behind every blade of grass. It is crucial. And if you were to ask the majority of Brits right now, for example, would you want to be able to defend yourself? They would say overwhelmingly yes. And now you're seeing they're trying to even go and take their text messages. So when I very first came to America, it was something that I had to get my head around. And I was like, I don't understand this gun thing. full on guns right now, like totally full on in. There is no First Amendment if you do not have a Second Amendment. And this is what they're trying to do. And just imagine if we didn't have Trump. Now, I don't know if Trump can pardon this guy. I don't know if he can go in and do something like that. I don't know.
He cannot.
Yeah, because it's
He cannot. It's a state charge.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But this is despicable, and it's all meant to be a cooling effect for us. In the same way, January 6th, as our good friend Adam knows better than anyone, that was to shut us up and to make sure that we don't go out and protest. This is what the left does, and now is the time we've got to start pushing back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to your point, really quickly, I know we got to take a break here, but to your point, I mean, do you think for 1 second that Joe Biden wouldn't have gone to greater lengths to keep us, holed up, to make sure that you got the vaccine, to make sure all of his orders and edicts? Do you think that he wouldn't have gone to even greater measures with his regime if they had been able to disarm the citizenry? I mean, all bets are off when you are able to do that. They just knew what they were dealing with. It's why Beto got laughed out of the room. Robert Francis O'Rourke, when he was on the CNNs and MSNBCs going like, hell yeah, we're going to take their guns. Everyone's like, okay, my guy, that's not going to happen over there with his gangly arms waving around. Like, we all know you're never going to accomplish that because it's going to lead to all sorts of civil war and unrest in the streets, and you don't want that. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back with more with the guys. But I want to remind you guys, if maybe you have a New Year's resolution to get better sleep, or you're like, I just need to learn how to handle stress better. I need to work out more. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, CBDistillery actually has you covered. You may not realize this, but over 90% of CBD customers say that they sleep better with CBD. So if sleep is your goal, they've got something for you. If helping with solutions for stress, relief, mood, and pain after workouts is your goal, they've also got something for you as well. It's plant-powered, 100% clean ingredients. They have over 2 million happy customers, 100% money-back guarantee. So you've got nothing to lose. Go to CBDistillery.com. Use my code Sara for 25% off. Just go there. Just peruse the site. Just get what you need. All the products that I've used, I have loved. It's not like you don't have to get high, okay? Just the standard run-of-the-mill CBD is going to just do its job. CBDistillery.com, promo code Sara. Well, it has been, I actually can't believe this. It's only been 4 months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. It feels like 4 years. There are a lot of questions still surrounding how this was even accomplished by this seemingly, loner guy whose parents were conservative, but somehow he went to the dark side, and he had this like trans furry lover named Lance Twiggs. And so Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson, there's Lance. Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson, who was the killer, lived together. And so now for the first time, Lance Twiggs' family, so this is the family of the trans lover. I always feel weird saying that. It's like
it's confusing.
It's very confusing. It's a dude who's confused and wants to live as a woman. I should just put it that way. And so a lot of the questions have surrounded the text messages, the way that they spoke to each other, the back and forth. I know that they used some terms like vehicle and stuff that you're like, is this really how kids talk to each other? And so Lance Twiggs' family, for whatever it's worth, gave an interview and said, actually, the text messages seem legit because this was the way that they spoke to each other. Watch.
The text messages between Tyler and Lance, where they're texting after the event. A lot of people find them unusual.
The world that they were in, like this gaming world, like that was a normal way that they kind of spoke, that this wasn't an abnormal, the way they spoke wasn't abnormal.
I don't know, take that for what it's worth, but there was another kind of, I'll say question floating around out there, and I want to get your thoughts, gentlemen, that it was strange that, remember, they were like, Lance Twiggs, This roommate, he was just a roommate at first. His roommate was extremely cooperative with police. He was super cooperative with police. And then all of a sudden, we heard that he was the one with the problems with his family. And he was kind of the weird, erratic, strange one. And then all of a sudden, after Tyler Robinson gets arrested and is in jail, no one can find Lance Twiggs. It turns out that the FBI provided protection for him and his family while they moved around a little bit. Anyway, here's some of that exchange.
There have been a lot of questions about where Lance is now, whether he's in the FBI protection program. It's been a big mystery. He kind of has disappeared.
Yeah, my understanding was for the first few weeks, because there were so many threats against his family that and him, that they had. My understanding is they did have a little bit of FBI detail, and they kind of moved around a little bit, but they're not anymore. He's with his family.
Will he still cooperate with the investigation from what you know?
I don't know. When I first found out about how he was taken in and talked to by the police, I know that they said that he was very cooperative, but they had to go get him and bring him in, and he didn't voluntarily go in and say, "Hey, I heard about this and I have some knowledge." He had to go in. Then he handed things over when they asked for him, but he didn't give up any information until he had to.
I'm going to be honest. It does rub me the wrong way that FBI is giving him detail. They're giving him protection. I didn't hear of any threats against him or his family's life. I didn't hear of any of that, actually. Did you, Matt?
No.
Did you, Adam?
I did not.
Okay. So why then is the FBI is like, oh, well, this guy who, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, probably radicalized Tyler Robinson, it sounds like, now all of a sudden we're going to be providing he and his family protection because of these like threats that nobody has verified. That I don't like that.
It doesn't.
I would point to the fact that he is in the trans community and their suicide rate is very high. And given how highly media was on top of this, they were probably worried about that. And he is going to be a key witness to the case. So I think the protection probably lended to itself in both of those ways. So,
okay. I could buy that.
Look at that angle.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I could buy that. I could buy that.
Yeah, like the threats aren't from the threats aren't from the right. They'd be more likely from
that, and that's where I'm like, I've done this before, guys. My nonprofit that I'm the vice president of, we've done a lot of like, hey, contact this business and tell them you don't want a drag show for kids at their restaurant. And it's the same thing with them. They're always like, we received threats, and they never can point to the threats. They can never give you receipts of them. They can never play the voicemails that they supposedly get. They never actually have any of that information. They just claim that they have threats, and you're just supposed to believe them. I just never actually see it happening.
Well, words are violence, right? So
that's fair. But real violence is not. You could actually try to ram an ICE vehicle with a car. That is not violence. That is non-violent, but words are violence. Thank you.
It's completely maddening. I remember actually when that was going on, there was one particular instance, if you remember, you called me and there was someone down in Houston, I believe, that were doing it, and I called them and they were so belligerent. They just didn't care. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't like they were, because the truth of the matter is as much as the left talks about the right being violent, they'd know about it if we were. We're not.
Right.
They're the ones, and we're the ones that have to be restrained with them. So I would think that, as Adam said, I think that this is probably, if they did go into protection, it was probably some kind of precaution actually from the left for them to want to shut him up in some way, shape, or form. But I didn't see anyone. I don't think any rational person, in the same way, they wouldn't particularly blame this guy's parents and his family, not him, the shooter. I'm not going to say his name. But the shooter's family, wouldn't blame them. So if you're going to blame anyone, you'd look at the people that were probably closest to him. So why would they blame some other guy's family? Like, I was actually, when you very first start playing that clip, I thought, how unfortunate is it that families are getting caught up in this? And I think about this when you look at the ICE agents. People don't care about the ICE agents being doxxed. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't care about that. But we have to understand that in the same way, like, our families are not part of what we do as a job. It's collateral damage.
Yeah.
And I think, though, that most conservatives understand that, and they don't try and go after the families of people that are adjacent to something like this.
Adam, can you speak to your own experience with your family? Have you had to experience that from the left?
Absolutely. I actually still have a voicemail on my old phone the FBI gave back to me, and it's a voice recording of someone calling and saying they were going to show up to my house and rape and murder my children and wife while I was gone. I had dozens of death threats come in. I have a stack of letters, like a stack of letters of death threats that were sent to my personal address. Even since announcing for my campaign, I have a dozen death threats now emailed to me. And I couldn't even provide my public address while filing because I've already been doxxed before. I didn't want to go through it again. And people are now threatening to show up to my home just for wanting to run for local office. This is not going to stop. But again, like what choice do I have but to stand back up and try to say, I'm going to continue to take a stand. I'm going to continue to make sure the right thing is done. And it's going to take all of us doing that. And unfortunately for Charlie, and unfortunately for some of us, because I don't think it's going to stop, we will lose our lives for doing the right thing. So I encourage everyone. It may be difficult to do, but the right thing to do is always the right thing to do.
Yeah, you're right. And just to go back to the Charlie case for a moment, I understand. And Adam, I really do. I appreciate you bringing up the very valid point that like they probably are like, we need him as a key witness. So I also, to that point, understand that there is probably a lot that they don't want to share yet within the investigation that they are uncovering because they don't want to, like by chance mess up their case. But until we all witness this trial, which they did say would be televised, until we can all just watch all of this for ourselves, I just feel like nobody can move on. Like it's this elephant in the room that nobody can. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories. There's all of these, how was it really a 30.6? And if so, this just isn't consistent. And, how did this guy get up on the roof by himself and get off the shot? And there's just so many questions, some of them valid, some of them not. But so many questions that it's almost agonizing having to wait for the trial because I feel like the entire country needs to go through this together to understand it better and like really honestly lay him to rest fully. Does that make sense?
Sarah, no, it does. But I will caution with this. You say the whole country. It's not the whole country.
Well, you're right. You're right.
And one
Our movement.
Yeah. Because, and this is something that this incident in Minnesota is really exposed to I think a level that we've never seen before. Luckily, we had multiple angles of that ICE agent, and I'm going to say this to everybody out there. I know that the people that watch this show understand getting hit. Mm-hmm. Why do I say that? Because you still have people out there saying, he was never hit. He was never hit. He was never hit. And you have video evidence right there. It's plain to see. So you are never going to convince them, Sarah. And this is what I'm saying about the Charlie Kirk thing. It doesn't matter what they come up with. It doesn't matter. You could have 15 different angles of a camera showing the same thing. They are going to deny it. It doesn't matter. So it's important for our movement to understand that they're never going to convince anyone else of the truth.
Yeah.
It's their truth. It's our truth, not the truth. We look for the truth.
Yeah.
And this is an issue.
Yeah. Adam, last word.
This is because I think, not to be reductive, the conspiracy theories, all of that stuff is trash as far as I'm concerned, because what we do is we take away the actual message of what happened. Sometimes evil people just do evil things. And the reason we want to be able to explain it in different ways and go down these rabbit holes is because Charlie is gone and Charlie shouldn't be gone. But the honest truth is evil people do evil things. This is an evil thing that was done, and we need to focus on the fact that these people are still out here, still celebrating it, and they mean to do it again. So let's not get caught up in the conspiracy theories. Let's not get caught up in the what happened and who did what. Charlie is dead. An evil man murdered him, and we need to move forward understanding that they will not stop. That is the message we need to remember.
Yeah. Amen. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more. Boy, if you thought that it was just Minnesota that was engaging in all sorts of fraud when it comes to all of these Muslims and Islamists coming into our country and siphoning off taxpayer money, I don't know. I'm just saying maybe we should look into Colorado, because there's a pamphlet that surfaced from Colorado on how to set up a charity from the Secretary of State's office of Colorado that is like almost entirely, it's in the squiggles. It's in Arabic, but they've written it all in the squiggles. Gee, I wonder, I don't know why they would have to write it in Arabic so that all of the squiggles people can figure out how to set up a charity and then potentially misuse it. I'm sure that that's not the case.
Look, I've told you this before, and we actually had this discussion a little bit earlier off air, right? Is that when I was in the UK, one of the biggest splits over there that completely, and you know what a mess it's in right now, is they started writing signs in Arabic and in different languages for different people. And what that does, that just fractures everybody. It creates these silos, which is exactly what the left wants to do. They want to do it on the immutable characteristics that you have. They want to do it when it comes to language. You said as well as I do. Listen, and this isn't just Arabic, it's Spanish.
Spanish too.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You should all speak English. You should all be able to write and read in English. And if you can't, get out.
Get out. Go home. Our taxpayer money, Adam, should not be going to make sure that government documents are written in 18 different languages. Like, read English or go home.
And my county alone, this is one of the reasons I'm running, our county commissioners voted to give $23 million to charities who said on a microphone, on a stand, that they have no way to vet the people that are getting this money, our taxpayer money, are not illegal citizens.
What?
And we had 4 of our commissioners vote for it. It went through. This is one of the reasons that I'm running. We have so much waste, fraud, and abuse at a county level, and people can't even name their county commissioners. So that's a big reason why I'm running. It stops when I'm elected.
And they can name Adam because his name is, it's very easy. It's very American. It's very easy it's just Adam Johnson. They can remember that very easily, Adam.
Yes, ma'am. I will be on that ballot. We're actually applying for the state to also include my nickname, the Lectern Guy, because that's what they keep calling me in the articles.
Shut up.
Awesome.
Just embrace it, man. I love that. Yeah, I say this all the time really quickly. I know we got to go in a second. That I think it should be totally illegal to go to the voting booth and have them have to ask you. It's required for them to ask you, do you want your ballot in English or Spanish? Mm-hmm. English, please. That's the official language now. Only English. If you can't read it, you shouldn't be voting. That's what I have to say. All right, Adam Johnson, of course, the Lectern Guy, and Matthew Marsden. I appreciate both of you guys. It's been a pleasure. And we will see you guys Monday.